Hello garden friends, Jersey Shore Lisa from MyNJGarden.com, and it's time to pick the jujubes. These are two off of this tree. This is the Lang jujube, and it's not really that tall, but this did have 4 or 5 fruits on it this year. It's only a few years old, and they are probably about the size of a plum, and they are so tasty. If you've never heard of jujube before, they are not native to New Jersey. These are also known as Chinese dates. If you let them dry on the tree, if you don't pick them at this time of year when they are ripe, you can let them dry out on the tree. They kind of shrivel up a little bit, and they're known as Chinese dates. If you eat them fresh, they are more like the texture of an apple. They're very sweet. They do have a pit inside. It's a fairly small pit. There's one pit inside, and they're just delicious. The nice thing about jujube, planting them in a food forest in New Jersey, is that they do not require being sprayed in order to protect them from insect damage. And so you can get organic fruit that's delicious, hasn't been sprayed with any kind of chemicals, and doesn't suffer any pest damage. And I think the reason for that is that they bloom a bit later in the season with these tiny little flowers, are pollinated by super tiny little pollinators, and it's after the traditional pest cycle for other fruit trees that bloom in the area. So that's part of why they're so successful here. They are in full sun. I'm going to show you, this one is the Lang, and then the pollinator is over here. It's much bigger, but they are still dwarf trees. I don't think they're going to get more than about 12 feet tall. And this one is called a Shanxi Li. You can get these from online nurseries. You will need 2 in order to pollinate. They do send up some suckers, and they can be thorny, so be careful when you're pruning them. The suckers on this tree, you have to realize that they're grafted trees if you're buying a variety. So the suckers are from the rootstock that's below the graft. So the fruit on this tree that sent up suckers is going to be different than the fruit that is above the graft. This fruit coming up from the suckers is much smaller. And there's a lot of it coming up from below the graft. So I left it there this year because I wanted that genetic diversity. I wanted that really good pollination. But for some reason, the suckers that came up from below the graft were much more successful, put on a lot more fruit than this tree up above the graft. So next year, I'm pruning them off. These 2 trees both flower. They are close enough to one another where I don't think I'm going to have a problem with pollination. I just wanted to give it that extra, those extra flowers that were blooming at the same time. But next year, I think I'm going to prune them off because I want this tree to devote more energy to the flowers above the graft and to produce fruit up there. So we'll see how that goes. But I did taste what I have here, and they're absolutely delicious from the Lang tree. I'm so glad I have these in my food forest. And if you grow a food forest in New Jersey, I recommend adding jujube. Thanks for watching. See you soon.